Hello, it is another Tuesday, which means it's time for another in real life video. And this week, we're not taking a general viewer submitted question. Instead, we're doing kind of some more clerical work, as it were, sort of going over a commonly referred to or commonly asked question that will just always occur. And I figure, hey, I've kind of alluded to it before, but it's probably a good idea to do this maybe once a year toward the beginning of the year. And so here we are in the middle or kind of toward the end of January, doing it here. We're going to go over sort of my big super duper mega list of games and all of that we have slated for the channel. It's fairly tentative, right? Things can change on it, and as you'll have seen if you compare this with the last time I did, which I think was actually 2 years ago, but regardless, if you compare it with that one, you'll notice that some things have changed around. Certainly things have been added, a few things removed, and we'll kind of just go over it a little bit more once again in full form. And of course, as per usual, if you don't see something on the list that you do think would be a good fit, or even if you don't think, I'm like, feel free to just like shout it out or whatever. And if I don't think it's a good fit, then I won't put it on there. But you know, what's the harm, right? What's the harm? And of course, especially if you are aware of like various stuff in the indie space that I might be into, that I'm unaware of, right? Feel free to let me know about that, and I'll take a look at it and potentially add it to the list and all that good stuff. Oh, and same goes for another realm that I'm probably even less versed in, but modding, right? Stuff like that. So without any further ado, we'll do a little brief cut here as we go into like a picture-in-picture mode. And like I said, we'll look at more of these with the little spreadsheet that I've got set up. All right, see you then. All right, hello, we are back. I've shrunk my camera down a little bit here into the corner. That way, well, probably shrunk it a little too much, but that way we can sort of get a good look at all of this. So, as it has been in the past, toward the start, toward the like lower numbers here, toward the top portion of these lists, of these spreadsheets, they are more accurate. The further down we go, the less accurate it becomes. As you can see, there are quite a few things down here. Not just less accurate in that, like, will I even do it? Will I even have time to get to it? But, for instance, stuff at the bottom may get pushed up really rapidly because I just kind of loosely threw it on there, right? But make no mistake, stuff near the top here is super duper, like, quite locked in, I would say. Barring something from one of these other little areas at the bottom, sort of shifting, as it were, right? But make no mistake, even stuff at the top is liable to, you know, tentatively swap around. But up here, our first three are ones that we've very much like made clear and hopefully signposted that they are next in line. I would guess Fallout New Vegas, doing another playthrough of that, is sort of on the menu, right? I believe that will be exactly what happens next as we sort of wrap up Fallout 3, which I don't know about wrap up. We're maybe 2/3 of the way through, if I had to guess, Fallout 3. As I mentioned toward the start of us getting started with Fallout 3, sorry as well, I'm going to have a whole lot of like reflection in my glasses, especially given the angle. But as I talked about, Fallout 3, a bit of a shorter game, relatively speaking, relative to like 4 and New Vegas, especially 4. But New Vegas coming up next, it will be very likely here. I'll even add it on there. Let's see. We'll do the J Sawyer mod, and let's see. Oh, plus survival hardcore. I forgot even what it's called in Fallout New Vegas, because although we had played New Vegas before on the channel, it was like maybe the 3rd or 4th game that we ever played on the channel, so I was a lot less adept at like talking over a video game. My mic sounded worse, right? We even opted to not do like, we did max difficulty, but we didn't toggle on whatever it was, survival mode, I think it was. Wherein you sort of have to eat and drink, right? Because it's a little silly in New Vegas, but shoot, why not? And of course, as I've been made aware of, the J.E. Sawyer mod, made by Josh Sawyer himself, sort of in the aftermath of the game coming out. A lot of people recommend that, so I'll see about getting that running and all that good stuff too, when we eventually get to New Vegas, right? Which ideally I would hope that New Vegas will be popping off, I don't know, around, hopefully a little bit before the next season of the Fallout TV show, because although it's not necessary, it would certainly reach like, I don't know, like a viewership critical mass, as it were, if these things sort of like come together in tandem. Also, as I've alluded to for the CRPG slot, what's next? This is pretty much locked in at this point for when we wrap up the current Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. We will be doing Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition, a game which people have recommended to me for forever, right? And a game which I've heard about being extremely good for forever. So finally, we will be getting to it. We do also, of course, need to take it, a little bit academically in spots, though I assume that there are plenty of places where it is aged incredibly well. But we will be able to look at how it has influenced works that came after it, which we have already played on the channel. Like, for instance, Disco Elysium took purportedly huge inspiration from Planescape Torment, and I assume there's stuff like Baldur's Gate 3. Speaking of which, after we finish up Planescape Torment, it's pretty much on lock that I want to do a Dark Urge playthrough for Baldur's Gate 3. I have no idea how long Planescape Torment will be on the channel. I know it's very reading heavy, if not near exclusively like reading as a game, right? Given its age and given the type of narrative role-playing game that it is. But whenever we finish it, I would guess, if I had to guess just loosey-goosey off the top of my head, Planescape Torment will probably be like 70 to 80-ish videos, right? Given how slow I am to progress through games, right? I love to move at a snail's pace. Anyway, we have got the Baldur's Gate 3 Dark Urge playthrough, and sort of depending on how well that is received on the channel, right? If we get like a surprising amount of viewership, I could totally see us going back again to Baldur's Gate 3 for like the origins, right? I personally, on a personal level, I would love to do it. I would personally love to like play Baldur's Gate 3 more and more on the channel for like the various origins and see how they all play out. And, kind of decide willy-nilly, like, oh, do I want this one to be a little bit more evil? This one a little bit more good? This one's so good, they're kind of evil. This one's so evil, they're maybe a little bit good. Stuff like that. I would love to do it. Get romances with different or multiple companions and all that. Sort of see a whole bunch of stuff in Baldur's Gate 3. There's also the modding scene, but I don't know if there's any, like, full conversion, big mods and all of that. Because I don't know, I feel like it would be so extra additionally tough to add, like a big story campaign to Baldur's Gate 3 via a mod, because the production values in the core game are so high. I feel like to make it match with the rest of the game, I feel like it would be extremely difficult, right? But we'll see. If there is a cool mod or whatever, we'll certainly go to it. But yeah, following Baldur's Gate 3, I added down here BG3 origin playthroughs. Yeah, so depending on how it goes, maybe we'll do those. We can interweave, right? BG3 origin playthroughs in betwixt other CRPGs within the CRPG slot. And granted, like I said, that may change. It may just be like after I finish the Dark Urge playthrough, maybe I'm like fed up with Baldur's Gate 3, right? But where I'm at right now, man, I'm loving Baldur's Gate 3, right? I would be down for more Baldur's Gate 3. I'm liking Baldur's Gate 3 so much. I'm playing it as well off camera with my partner. When crossplay comes out, I intend to start up another campaign with a few friends who are only on console. I'm really enjoying it. So like I said, as far as Origin playthroughs, that's liable to change depending on, like, you know, maybe I get exhausted with the game or whatever, right? But from right now, definitely want to do Dark Urge, right? And then, next, we have, and this is where we start to get a little more loosey-goosey, I would love to do Daggerfall Unity. I think the last time I made this video, Daggerfall Unity was under unreleased, but man, I would love to get back to it. I think it would be super duper fun to do Daggerfall Unity along with, like, some smaller Skyrim mods. I know they've put out some stuff with, like, what do you call it? The Creation Club or whatever it's called. I forget. I would love to check those out sort of alongside Daggerfall Unity. So, like, for instance, Daggerfall Unity would be more of a regular thing. And then, I don't know, every week or two, there would be, you know, oh, we look at a big old, well, not necessarily a big one, not like a full conversion one, but we'd look at like a Skyrim mod or a Skyrim Creation Club paid mod or whatever, right? I would very much enjoy that. And then, of course, like I said, getting further out here, Fallout 4, of course I want to do Fallout 4. We're going to do one, a playthrough that is unlike ones that I've done myself. Fallout 4 is probably my most played BGS game. I've done Railroad and Minutemen playthroughs, and I would love to do one that is not one of those, which kind of leaves two options prime for the taking. And which one? Well, whichever way we go, almost certainly our Fallout 4 playthrough, we're going to be a bit of an a-hole. Similarly, as I've mentioned to a few folks who have asked about it, Fallout London, right? The big full conversion mod. I would love to do that, but it will have to be a little bit after Fallout 4, right? Thus, I've put it there. And like I said, this can move around there. We may take a break from Fallout for a smidgen of time. We may, like, socket something else in there, right? Depending on how far it is along, unreleased games coming out, stuff like that, sort of like filling the gap, as it were. And then after here, we've got Fable 2 and 3, which I would really love to get playthroughs done for Fable 2 and 3 before the Fable reboot, regardless of whether or not the reboot is any good, which what can I say? I'm very optimistic. I'm an unfortunately optimistic person, even in dire times. But Fable 2 and 3, I would love to have on the channel before then, but we'll see. They're fairly short games relative to, well, I think everything before this, including Planescape Torment, which I said was a bit shorter. I think Fable 2 is like, they're like action role-playing games, as they were, right? Anyway, also, we've got Dragon Age Origins, which I would say Dragon Age Origins I would love to do before we start the Mass Effect Legendary Edition trilogy playthrough. I would love to do that. But there is also the off chance that, given the popularity of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, that Dragon Age gets a similar treatment, but I'm not sure, right? The issue would be that the first 3 Dragon Age games play very differently and are about not the same character, right? There's repeated characters and cameos and all of that galore, but it certainly has a different feel relative to the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. But that's next on the list, right? I would love to do Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Super duper into that. And then finally, we get into, we're getting even more loosey-goosey with time frames and stuff like that. We got Shadowrun Returns, sort of the Shadowrun Harebrained Schemes trilogy. I've played a lot of Dragonfall. I don't believe I ever actually finished it, but man, I really enjoyed it. Shadowrun Hong Kong, these are all for like the CRPG slot. Same goes for Wasteland 2 and 3. Very much would love to finally play and finish those. I had to stop my playthrough of Wasteland 2 partway through way back in the day because there was like a game-breaking bug that could like corrupt your entire save, and it scared me off. And unfortunately, I just never got back into it after I got scared off from that. But now it sounds like it's all good, right? Next up, we've got Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. Another game very similar to Planescape Torment that people have recommended forever and ever. This is an instance where it's highly likely that this could move up in the list, right? This could be something we weave between like Baldur's Gate playthroughs and all of that. Depending on how that goes, depending on whether or not we do Origin playthroughs, right? The Origin playthrough is very much dependent upon like how popular are they on the channel, True enough, Baldur's Gate 3 has been by far the most popular, and to be expected, by far the most popular CRPG we've ever played on the channel, right? As far as whatever I devote to the CRPG slot, it has pretty much blown away anything else, right? Really wild. Frankly, really good for the channel and really much enjoying it, right? But like I said, tentatively, we'll see. It may be by that time in the future, people are just exhausted by it, I may just be exhausted by it. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. I've remarked before that I would love to try it out. I had a lot of hangups with 2077 as it first came out. I have some hangups with like the core story, right? And I'm very curious as to like, will this resolve some of that? Will this deliver a more interesting story? At the very least, it sounds like it's a super duper fun like action role-playing game, but I'm curious about that. We recently had the Witcher, I don't even know what it's called, the Witcher 4 series story or whatever, a new saga or whatever, which I should probably put under unreleased. But we had the trailer teased for that not too long ago. So, of course, before that hits, I would love to play through the old stuff. There's been rumblings about a Witcher 1 remake or remaster. I think remake. But I have no idea if that bears any truth, so I haven't even put that under, like, unreleased or whatever. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. This is moving further down the list, unfortunately. I have this game. I have a capture card. I was fully intending to play this game, but my God, I guess I just got so sucked into Baldur's Gate 3 and have been enjoying it so damn much that I have kind of bumped it a little bit. My apologies. It may well be that we just have to relegate that to like quick looks or something, right? Outer Worlds DLC Game of the Year edition. I quite enjoyed the Outer Worlds one. It wasn't perfect. We definitely like looked over its flaws throughout the playthrough and all that. But I never got to touch the DLC. I'm pretty bad about playing DLC when it comes out, posthumously for the game itself. But yeah, would love to get into that. And then now we're getting further and further out here with the list. We've got Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. I have a somewhat curiosity about the game. I feel like this is one that's liable to move further down the list, right? Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. If/when we ever play through this again, this should probably be further down the list once again. I would love to do a Nosferatu or Malkavian playthrough, probably Malkavian. But very much enjoyed my time playing it the first time, and if we ever did, it would probably be like around Halloween, right? It was very fitting the one time we did that. Very much enjoyed it. Very morbidly curious about how that sequel's going to hit. In a similar vein, Disco Elysium: The Final Cut. I played through Disco Elysium before the Final Cut, before the full voice acting. Man, so much has happened in the periphery around that game. It's really wild. But alas, I really enjoyed it. It was such a memorable experience. Still, I don't know, one of the GOATs. I would still love to play the Final Cut, right? Next, Planescape Tides of Numenera, kind of the like years later follow-up to Planescape Torment. I've heard pretty mixed things about, but alas, I am morbidly curious. I would love to try it out, right? I have no idea how long or short that is, but I'd like to play it. Elder Scrolls Arena, this will happen sometime after we play Daggerfall Unity. When? I don't know. How much we will devote to Elder Scrolls Arena, I don't know. But I've always wanted to get it on the channel, right? Just as sort of like the completionist within me kind of wants to do that. Arx Fatalis, kind of the sister game to Morrowind from a different development team. I've always wanted to try that out, and thus it is on the list. We've got a couple full conversion mods, not unlike Fallout London, these made by very similar teams. I believe Nerim is entirely in German, which poses a bit of a problem, right? But it is the prequel to Enderall, which Enderall I've always been recommended, and tons of people kind of recommend me trying it out. Whenever we do get to doing larger Skyrim mods that are standalone and not like people sort of bring older games forward, sort of like Skywind, Skyblivion, and all of that, barring those, this will probably be the first thing that we do, right? But the full conversion mods, like sort of modernizing the older games, those are probably more likely to appear further up on the list, right? Finally, or not finally, I keep saying that. Fallout Tactics, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, those showing up. We've got here, sort of in a similar vein to Elder Scrolls Arena. That said, I've heard decent things about Fallout Tactics, but man, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is probably the most maligned of all Fallout games, right? Even, especially nowadays, where in a lot of circles, 76 has had kind of a comeback and all of that. But I would just, for posterity's sake, I would love to have them on the channel. I would love to be able to see what they're all about, for better or worse. And like I said before, Dragon Age Origins, way more likely to show up early, but we've also got the rest of the Dragon Age games. Divinity, Original Sin, 1 and 2. Very much would love to play these. Frankly, these probably belong higher up on the list. It really depends on how much I'm gripped by continuing to play Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and what Larian's next big game is, which of course they are all too ready to remind folks that their next game following Baldur's Gate 3 is a ways out, right? So I think we've got plenty of time, but regardless, I would love to play both of them on the channel. Divinity Original Sin, I have no idea how much of it I played, but I played a significant amount of it back around launch, and I never got around to the sequel, right? Actually, a gentle viewer, just like you, gifted it to me on Steam. And like I said, I'm very much interested in playing it. I hear that it's just like an all-around super-duper improvement over the original, or over the first one. And sort of makes for a fun treat to look at, sort of as them having lower production values, but different direction, not having to be like adherent to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, sort of their own rule set. Very much keen on that. Thief, we get a lot of immersive sim stuff here. We got Thief Anthology, Deus Ex Original, Invisible War, Human Revolution, Mankind Divided. Frankly, these probably, I would move them down further. In fact, you know what? Can I do that just right now? Here, let's move those even further down. Because I gotta be real with you, like, this is quite the stacked list, right? And the rate at which I move through games, I don't know when we're gonna have time for these. On the bright side with them is that they're fairly short, right? Relative to a lot of other stuff on this list, you know, they're relatively speaking short. Here's another one, Kingdom Come Deliverance, a game which a lot of people have recommended that I played, that I would probably enjoy it. I've had hangups about it because, I like I mentioned before, in the past, one of the folks who was more vocal on the development team and like higher ranking is kind of like a dickhead or something like that. I forget the specifics of it. It's been so long, but I don't know. I feel like it's not a situation where I'm not too put off by that to not play it, because, you know, there's more than just this one person on the dev team or whatever who I find like puts a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm kind of willing to try it and be down for it. And where this sits on the list, let's be real, probably depends on like how dope the sequel seems to be, which it looks pretty cool, right? It looks pretty cool. Encased is one that we did like a little short video for, a little quick look. I wouldn't mind playing that, though, if anything. Compared to some of the other stuff on this list, we probably gotta move it down. Let's be real. The more I get into like Infinity Engine games, stuff like Neverwinter Nights and Icewind Dale, these are probably moving further up, and frankly should be further up on the list, right? These should probably be way higher, right? Oh shit. Let's move them up a little bit. There we are. Okay. Let's see. So where were we? Oh, we've got Kenshi, another game which is kind of like a more sandboxy, immersive role-playing game, a la like Elder Scrolls, Fallout 4, and all of that. One that I've been recommended to no end. It seems extremely weird. I would love to try it, frankly. I would love to. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a classic. Would love to get it on there, right? Alpha Protocol, a early Obsidian, like, 3D era, I guess, or early Obsidian hidden banger. Would love to try it. The Forgotten City, a mod spinoff, would love to play it. I hear it's quite short, right? So it would be easy to just, like, move up and fit into the schedule at some point or another, right? But that said, I don't know, I kind of just enjoy having like really big ass games on the list and just being like, yeah, we're just going through it or whatever, right? I don't know. I kind of like the sort of like slower pace, right? But hey, what can you do? Icewind Dale, similar situation to Neverwinter Nights. Would love to play those. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance would be a fun, goofy one, I think, to throw in somewhere. It's an action role-playing game in sort of the same vein as Diablo and Path of Exile. Would love to get that on the channel. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth is somewhere down here too. Yep, all the way at the bottom. Would be down to try it. I have so much nostalgia for Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played any of the new stuff. They're quite lengthy though, right? They're quite lengthy, but Final Fantasy VII, the original, was like the very first role-playing game I ever finished to completion. Thus, I'm inclined to like want to have it on the channel and all of that. And then we get into stuff from like Atlas, Metaphor ReFantazio, Persona 5 Royale. I bounced off of Persona 5. I would love to get like Metaphor on the channel. That would like as far as Atlas stuff is concerned, sort of dipping my toes into that, sort of like getting into it for the first time. It's probably going to be Metaphor ReFantazio that I do first, if I do it at all. Often requested by action role-playing game enjoyers. We've got like Dark Souls. We've got Bloodborne is down here somewhere as well. All stuff I would love to get on the channel at some point or another. We got more Nintendo stuff, which, you know, I don't know. I kind of enjoy them. These are games I've played before, and I would love to try the remake. Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, Thousand Year Door. I've played them before in their original versions. I would love to try the remake. Nier Automata. This isn't much of a role-playing game, so this is liable to move further and further down the list, but it is a game that I've heard so much about that I should probably try it, right? But like I said, it's scarcely a role-playing game, so I would move it further down. Yakuza Like a Dragon. I've never played any of the Yakuza games. People rave about them. I've seen some of the like ideology behind like the vibe within these games, and it sounds dope as hell. I'd love to try it, but I'm not sure. It may just be something that I relegate to quick looks, like whenever there's a new one coming out, right? That may be better where it fits. Just do like 1 or 2 hours when a new one comes out and just sort of play it in my free time, my own time. You know, that may be the better fit for it. Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO version. If like Star Wars KOTOR, when we do the KOTOR playthroughs, really hits off, this is like sort of a backup. This is something that we could do as well, because there is definitely some connectivity there. This is sort of like a sicko kind of like option if we want it. Sort of similarly going into more BioWare 3D Golden Age era. We got Jade Empire, more of the, what do you call it? FromSoft, the Demon Souls remake by Bluepoint, I think. Tyranny, one that is recommended. Frankly, Tyranny probably belongs further up on this list. Let's be real. All right. And Pathfinder Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, both games which I've heard are exceptionally difficult if you play them on high difficulty. I have zero experience with Pathfinder, so I'll probably tune it down a bit. But I've heard pretty decent things about it. That said, I think I'm more liable to, down here, play Rogue Trader, because it's a bit easier to jump in there rather than just go into Pathfinder, right? So I'll move that up a little bit higher, right? I think these are liable to move further up the list, right? Like I said, a lot of the CRPG slot kind of is dependent upon just how well Baldur's Gate 3 is going to like stay, like how much staying power it has. You know, I fully intend to play more of it in my own free time, but as for what goes on the channel, it depends on how popular BG3 continues to be on the channel, right? Because there's no denying it's, like I said, it's far and away the most popular CRPG that I've played on the channel, and it's got pretty good staying power. The backlog is doing quite well. It's not like a huge shock because it was kind of expected because it was such a runaway success, but there's no denying it's nice to enjoy it. It's nice to get the steady viewership. Like I said, I certainly am very much enjoying it still. We'll see the staying power with regards to viewership, with regards to my own enjoyment. Lies of P, this probably is going to move down a bit. They might kick back up depending on when their like follow-up game comes out, right? But more liable to play like From Software stuff before Lies of P, which it's that type of game. It's like a Soulsborne. Let's see. Thief Edge Thought. Oh yeah, we moved these down. Same goes for Neo and Neo 2. Pathologic and Pathologic 2, very narrative focused. These aren't, I'm not even sure if these are necessarily role-playing games, right? I don't know. Then we've got even more esoteric like CRPGs, Atom RPG, right? Here's Bloodborne. We're getting even more weird shit. Gothic Anthology, someone recommended that. Outward probably belongs further up on the list because this is another sort of sandboxy, immersive, sim-esque role-playing game, right? Frankly, that belongs higher up on the list, so I'm just gonna boop it up there. Does it belong that high? Probably belongs higher up, frankly, right? Probably belongs a bit higher up. Oh shit! Oh, where'd I put it? Oh my gosh, I turned it into a little line. Gosh, it's been forever since I've had to use like Excel in any meaningful way. Or a spreadsheet program, I should say. Your spreadsheet program of choice. Once again, we've got more immersive sim stuff. We've got classics like Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, Yakuza before Like a Dragon Anthology, Prey, more immersive sim stuff. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and War. Pretty wild games, right? I'm not sure. This, let's be real, probably needs to be moved down in the list or whatever, right? I've heard great things about them, but I don't know how, like, I don't know, maybe if something vastly bumps up my interest in playing Lord of the Rings and like getting into Lord of the Rings and all that, maybe if something like really gets me into that mood, I'll bump it way up into the list, right? So tentatively, it's on my radar. It's something I would love to have eventually. But I don't know, we gotta be real. The list is stacked. The backlog is stacked, dude. We've got Steve Jackson's Sorcery, Darkest Dungeon, right? We're getting into weird, kooky stuff. Assassin's Creed role-playing games. I don't know. I feel like this should just be at the bottom. This is like, I don't know. This would probably be better served as like quick looks, if I'm being honest, right? And we've got like Legacy of Kain, Fire Emblem, right? Sort of stuff that's really not my wheelhouse, right? So I kind of have a limited interest in it. Like I've heard from folks who enjoy these games that they're quite good, right? Same goes for a lot of these here, right? In the lower levels here that we've just been talking about. I've heard from folks who say like, oh, these are really good, you should try them or whatever. But I don't know, they just don't necessarily click with me. So I'm very tentatively, I'm putting them like on my radar, but they're super low priority, right? Like stuff like Steve Jackson's Sorcery, Fire Emblem, Legacy of Kain, right? Dragon Quest. Yeah, if anything, I should move these down, right? I should move these down here. Right there. Oh, fuck's sake. Okay. I'll move them right there. There we go. Yeah, they should be just above the Assassin's Creed stuff. A lot of that is due to, you know, I don't know how much I would get into it. I don't know how popular it would even be on the channel, right? Because of course I play a lot of games that I personally have interest in, and there's a little overlap with some of them, right? Stuff that is kind of out of left field, but they're short enough that I would love to play them. Very fun, like narrative experiences. That would be the Remedyverse. Holy shazbot. I have really enjoyed the Remedyverse. I got into it with Alan Wake 2, and oh my god, I think Alan Wake 2 might be my favorite, just like narrative game, my favorite narrative experience. I think it's like exceptionally I would say it's on par with like some of my favorite, I don't know, narratives as seen in like film and television and all of that. It doesn't have like branching dialogue and all of that, different trees and all of that. It's very much like a linear experience, not unlike a film or television experience, but man, it's so good. And sometimes you wonder when it comes to games like that, you're like, oh, well then does it really even justify being a video game? But I think the way in which Alan Wake 2 specifically plays with mediums is so good. Now, of course, I played Alan Wake 2. I played Control. I played them to completion. However, I liked it so much, and I'm so much looking forward to the future of what they have planned, that I kind of just want to put them on the channel, right? I haven't played the first one, though. I haven't played Quantum Break. Max Payne remakes are coming out, I think, this year still, right? Barring any delays. But I would love to get them on the channel, right? It'd be fun to do around like Halloween. You know, I would very much like to do it. They're pretty short, relatively speaking, to, once again, a ton of things on this list. So they're a bit higher. They're probably belonging a bit higher in priority, but I just kind of threw them all down here. They're way more likely to show up here, right? There's something that I could just easily fit in. I don't know how popular they would be on the channel, because like I said, there's very little like tonal vibe overlap, but my god, I would love to have them on the channel, right? And like I said, they're fairly easy to do. You know, I don't mind having like a significantly unpopular playthrough on the channel if it's super short and if I really like it. See also my Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 playthroughs. Anyway, unreleased. These are ones that are coming out that I'm very much interested in. Of course, at the top, our top three are like super duper ones that I'm just like guaranteed I'm going to play. The Oblivion remaster, obviously, if the Oblivion remaster turns out to be real, which, you know, there are those court document leaks, this was on the list last time along with the Fallout one. If these remasters are real, made by the Virtuoso development studio, I forget, sort of like porting it to Unreal Engine 5 or 4, I forget which, but regardless, super interested in it, super duper want to get it on the channel. We'll probably do like, depending on the scope of the remaster or the remake, whatever it would be, depending on the scope of it and just how wild it looks and how different, how much of a departure it is, probably just do a whole entire situation where we just play the whole dang thing, right? We try to 100% it. Maybe we don't do every single possible Daedric Oblivion Gate this time, right? Unless they really revamp those, right? If they really revamp them to use like a different system to where they're all unique, I'd be down, right? I'm a sicko for these games. Anyway, Avowed, very much excited for that. Really super stoked to go back to Aeora. Fable reboot, very stoked for that. Another thing which I'm always keen to mention is that the Fable 1 playthrough, despite only being like 30 to 40 videos long on the channel, I expected it to be like a quick little one-off where it's just, yeah, I'm just having fun. I'm playing Fable. I liked it as a kid. It has turned out, I've said it before, but it's like such a shocking hit on the channel. Like, it's not like blowing anything away, but it's done so much better than I would have ever anticipated, right? Thus, my own sort of love of it, combined with that, I can't help but have Fable like continually move up the list, you know? I'm sorry. The Outer Worlds 2, I'm very excited to see how they iterate on it. I believe they've got different people working on the higher echelons of the Outer Worlds 2, right? I think, God, what's their name? Paul Peter of, who worked on part of Pentiment and, or was it on, oh gosh, the kids, the shrunken down teenagers game. God, what was it? Backyard, Home, Grounded. I think also some folks from that team are working on it. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm very interested to see and hear how they iterate on it. As I had alluded to before, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Elden Ring DLC. So many people ask me about the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. The only issue with that, personally, I would love to try it and play it, but I gotta be real with you. As far as like viewership and popularity on the channel, Elden Ring actually ain't doing too hot. It does okay, but it's like, it ain't no Fable, right? It ain't no Fable, and it's quite the commitment. It is quite the commitment, right? These are not like shorter games, right? Thus, I'm kind of iffy about it. I think maybe it would be better relegated to like quick looks, but I'm not sure. I don't know. We've got Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I feel like that's going to be a hot mess, but man, I gotta see it. I have to see it. As I'd mentioned before, very likely we'll get Fallout 3 Remaster. Here's some other games that I've heard about. We've even tried Death Trash Early Access. I would love to try that once it comes out to full release. Clockwork Revolution, made from, what is even their studio name now? The same folks who did Wasteland 2 and 3. Clockwork Revolution is next in line for them. I'd love to see more about that. That will, depending on like early previews and whatnot, how this is received, this could move further up and down the backlog list once it gets to that point. Sky Oblivion, Skywin, of course I want to do that. Outward 2, we talked a little bit about before. The Elder Scrolls 6, of course, I had to put it on there. GTA 6, I probably wouldn't do a full playthrough of it, but I would be down to do like a 1 to 2 hour like preview, right? A quick look or whatever. Adam, we're getting into a lot of questions like, oh man, do I really want to play Atomfall? I'm not sure. How cool does Atomfall look? It looks all right? But if I gotta be real with you, if it gets added to backlog, it's probably gonna be near the bottom, right? Because like I said, my list is just so stacked. Elden Ring Night Reign, sort of a more multiplayer focused spin on Elden Ring or spin off on it. So I don't even know how much interest I really have in it, right? Like I hear that, oh, it's multiplayer focused. I'm like, well, that's not what I like about those games at all, right? That's not what I want out of there. I don't know about that. Dawnwalker was recently shown off a like cinematic teaser trailer, I believe. It's made from former CD Projekt Red folks, and you can really tell it's got like so many Witcher vibes going on, right? But it looks exciting. I'm down to try it. We'll have to see more about it though, right? They certainly have like experience and pedigree in the development studio, so we'll see. The Mass Effect reboot, I don't know, this could be a complete trash fire, right? It really depends. So it's down there at the bottom. Expedition 33, I don't even know who the developers are, but the like prompt, the sort of like impetus for it, the story prompt or whatever, is so intriguing to me that I can't help but wonder. This is the one where it's like, I think it's based in like Paris, France, but it's like where people are, God, I can't even remember exactly what it was now, but people are being sacrificed for the sake of like pausing or moving time. I can't even remember exactly, but like the prompt for it is so wild. Then we get like sort of more, I guess indie would be the term, takes on Elder Scrolls, right? Ardenfall, I've heard I should definitely try that. Wayward Realms, of course, anyone who's super into Elder Scrolls has probably heard of Wayward Realms by now, made by a former Elder Scrolls alumni, or helmed by former Elder Scrolls alumni. So, of course, it's on my radar. Depending on how it's received, it will either go into backlog or pretty high up, or it will go into quick looks, right? Same goes for Ardenfall, you know? Speaking of quick looks, things that I would already love to do, like a 1 to 2 hour sort of edited experience on. Path of Exile 2, I've recently gotten sucked into it. I'm very much enjoying it. I'd love to do like a little 1 to 2 hour special for Path of Exile 2. It'll probably be like 1 hour, right? Because, you know, it's an action role-playing game. There ain't much to say there. You're just going to see me like run around trying to kill some dudes and get loot or whatever, right? It's a very fun, you know, it's a podcast game, right? It's the kind of game you boot up and you like listen to or watch another video, have a second screen experience, as it were. But I love the mechanics of it. It's very enjoyable. Very much enjoyed Path of Exile 1. Although it doesn't say it on my Steam account, I played a ton of it. true enough, before it formally came to Steam, I did play a ton of Path of Exile 1, especially during like early access periods. Other stuff here, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. There's a question mark here because I don't know if I want this to be just a quick look or if I want to do a full playthrough, right? I think I could very much be down for doing a full playthrough of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle from what I've heard of it. It is definitely ripe for the picking, and I'm super duper interested in playing it. And frankly, as this year progresses, I could only imagine that my desire to play will only go up, right? All things considered. Doom the Dark Ages, of course, I very much enjoyed Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. We have playthroughs on the channel of both of those games. Those playthroughs, of course, Doom, super duper out of the channel's like niche and wheelhouse. They're not role-playing games in the slightest. Those playthroughs have done extremely poorly. They have such a low tail, such a horrible tail on them. Almost nobody goes back to watch the Doom playthroughs. But man, they were so short and shoot, I liked them so much. I'd be down to do it again. But being realistic, probably best to just do a 1 to 2 hour special, right? It's kind of the ideal situation for that. We just do like the first level and then the rest of it I play in my own free time, right? That's probably the way I put it on the channel. Stalker 2, I don't know. Stalker 2, I'm very curious about, should I have that be a 1 to 2 hour special or should I put it in the backlog, right? Because it isn't necessarily a role-playing game. It's more immersive simmy, right? It's more sandboxy. It's a toughie. It's a tough one. So I've got it here for now. It's definitely something on my radar. Definitely something I want to get on the channel at some point. But in what form, I'm not sure. As it stands, probably in this form, right? Okay, holy cow, that ought to do it for now. Hopefully I remember this video anytime someone asks, are you going to play so-and-so? And I'll link them this video. That ought to do it for now. Still got at least one more sort of video along these lines I would like to put out before January fully wraps up, but we'll see. I've been busy in real life, as I've made abundantly clear. We've moved. There's been a lot of mess, but that said, things are kind of settling down. I think a lot of what's behind me and all of that is probably going to be the norm. The rooms and stuff are looking better and better by the day, by the week. Just getting stuff moved around, getting sucked into games I probably shouldn't be playing, right? I've had this issue where like, I want to play more Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm too tired to like record because I'm just going to be like slurring my words and stuff too badly. So what can I do? Well, I got Path of Exile 2 early access. I got it, right? So that's kind of been what I've been doing. It's bad. It's bad. I'm a bad person. All right. When next we return with another in real life, like I said, it'll probably be another clerical video, or maybe not. Maybe we'll just squeeze that one in somewhere. Feel free to submit, gentle viewers, submit questions, although we haven't answered one this week. Like I said, this is something I think is good to do once a year, roughly. All right. Till next time, please take care of each other.